Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to AdamMcKola TV. I am Adam, they are Jay and Joe, and we are back, not for a master debate as today. It is for a preview, Manchester United against Bournemouth. And I guess after, today's Thursday, so last night's results, which were fantastic for United, we're all feeling good about this one, lads.
Yeah, man, bring it on.
Yeah.
Top four's in the bag.
It's got to be.
We always have faith in David Moyes.
Yeah, only took him 7.5 years or whatever to get us a positive result for Manchester United. But he's finally done it.
I always said he'd get us Champions League football, to be honest.
You did, to be fair, you did. You called that in 2013.
Still standing by David Moyes, Joe?
Yeah, I'm standing by him. I never faltered from the start. I've always said he was the man for United, and he's proven it now. It might have taken a bit longer, but those people saying Moyes out, now look at him. You're not saying it now, are you, lads?
It was weird watching the results yesterday because at the moment everything feels so good to be a Manchester United fan, and just sitting back watching those results, they went too perfectly, and it was like when Chelsea went in front, and after the goal had been disallowed, and Chelsea, you kind of thought, oh, here we go. But actually, they kept at it and they kept going, and it was mental. Everything seems to be falling into place, and it makes me feel scared to be excited. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like we've got like a lot of positivity, and we've had such a massive boost with Bruno coming into the side and with Pogba coming back from injury, Rashford coming back from injury. I think almost the opposite's happening to some of those teams in the sense that like Leicester have just seemed like they've completely gone off the boil, don't seem to be firing at all, seems to be a bit of a confidence problem. Their results since we last lost are pretty shocking. I think they've won 2 out of 8, and that was against 2 of the bottom 3. And Chelsea, you think, okay, they had the result against City, but they've got this sort of habit of throwing away leads. Is it 18 times this season or something stupid? They've thrown away a lead, something ridiculous. And you can see Lampard last night. He looks a bit angry with it all. Do you know what I mean? Like he knows there's an issue there, and he just can't fix it. Yeah, rattled, and it's great because it's like the opposite of what's happening with us is happening with the 2 teams we need to catch. The only one who's not sort of struggling and you are a worry are Wolves.
Yeah. When you say Leicester have gone off the boil, I think it's more a case of the whole pan has been dropped onto the floor, and someone is like sweeping the potatoes and the water back into it. I think off the boil is a bit of an understatement for Leicester. They've just collapsed, haven't they?
Yeah.
Considering they were pushing for second around Christmas, and now they're holding on to. I mean, if results go wrong in the next round of fixtures, they'll be 6th. So it's not a good thing at all for Leicester. But yeah, Chelsea don't have. Tammy Abraham's gone off the boil, and I will say gone off the boil one more time for them. And I think it's proving difficult for them to score goals. Obviously, Pulisic has stepped up a bit, Willian stepped up a bit, but when you don't have someone who can score your goals, it is difficult to consistently win, and that's obviously what Chelsea is seeing at the minute.
It was good seeing Lampard rattled, though. I think he knows we're right on their tail. Leicester's a weird one. I think they've won like 1 game since January or something weird like that, and United's form has come at a real good time. But we still have to kind of like, you look at Sheffield United. A minute ago they were right behind us, and now they're like 10th or 11th. And I suppose we have to be wary of that as well, because despite the fact we're 15 games unbeaten or whatever it is, 14 games, we are still level on points with Wolves, and one slip up means we drop a little bit further down the table. So although it is a lot of positivity at the moment, we still haven't quite pulled away from the chasing pack, have we?
No, we haven't. And I think sort of the one thing we've got going for us is our running. I think isn't too grim. I think there's Leicester away is the obviously the difficult one and a 6-pointer. But other than that, I think we play the bottom 9 team. All our teams are in the bottom half of the table. So the winnable games, Leicester, I think, have got to go to Spurs, they've got to go to Arsenal, so they've got difficult fixtures. Whereas, you look at it, the way we're playing, and it was always the lesser teams we struggled against, we seem to have kicked on a bit there. So you'd fancy us for it. I think it may even come down to that. We may have to win all these games to guarantee top 4, because the way Wolves are playing, like you said, they're not letting up. And if we do drop points, we've seen it before the Brighton game, it's a game we have to win. And I think the same, I know you're going to get into a bit more detail later, but I think it's the same with this Bournemouth game. It's not a game we can afford to drop points in.
Yeah, everyone's got. We've definitely got them.
Little Dan McNamara says, Go on.
We've definitely got the easiest running. That's all I'm saying.
Joe.
Wolves have still got Arsenal, Sheffield United, Chelsea, and Burnley and Everton to play. So it's not looking great for Wolves, to be honest. And they I don't know how deep their squad is to sort of continue this run right to the end of the season. That would be my concern for them.
Yeah, I am a little bit worried. I feel like not worried. I'm a lot more confident, but I'm still wary. Like I just feel like there's one of these performances around the corner, but then at the same time, I keep telling myself, even if we were to lose a game or draw a game, I feel quite confident there's going to be a reaction. We've got quite a good level in the squad at the moment. So, I don't know, maybe it's just we've been burnt a fair few times over the last couple of years. And every time we think we've turned a corner, we don't get to turn that corner. Like I said, little Dan was saying, I refer to Matic as the grandfather clock because not only does he keep things ticking, but he looks like a grandfather clock as well. What did we make of Nemanja Matic's performance? And doesn't it worry you that he can't be played every game and we haven't really got anybody else in his position?
I think, Joe, you were making this point last time that he's not, I know is he 31?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like it's the end of his career. And, you look at someone like, I sort of compared it to Carrick. Carrick was playing at, 33, 34 pretty much every week. So maybe we can, like, if we sort of adapt his training and sort of just, rest him in between games in certain of the way he's handled. Maybe he can carry on every game for the rest of this season until, maybe he gets to Europa and you say, right, that's it. I don't know, but the way he's playing in a minute, he's fantastic. Someone tweeted last night, is he the best DM at the minute in the league? And I think on current form, he is. There's no one, I'm not seeing anyone playing better than him. I know everyone's
Fabinho, has he been doing all right?
Maybe that was someone arguing put forward. But I just think he's been almost faultless.
But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. He has, what's he done wrong? He couldn't play much better than he has been. He's been, protecting the defense, bringing the ball out of defense, letting Bruno and Pogba get on with it, and they've shone in front of him. So that's exactly what we've needed. So maybe he can just carry on each game because whilst I like Fred and I like McTominay, I think you're right. I think those two together play quite well, or alongside Matic. Can they do it on their own? Would you trust maybe Fred or McTominay just as the one holding midfielder? I'm not sure. I think it'd take time for them to develop that. And we haven't got time, as we said, we've got, 6 or 7 league games. We need to kick on. We can't be having sort of 2 or 3 games where they're getting used to it.
So, Joel, do you think this is the kind of game then where we still play Matic? Or with it being Bournemouth at home, we maybe opt to give him a rest?
The home and away thing I don't think matters anymore. That's gone, sort of.
All right, Bournemouth. They just lost against Newcastle United.
Well, they've been terrible. Bournemouth have been they were utterly dreadful against Newcastle. Newcastle absolutely battered them. And they're dropping into they're in the bottom 3 now as well. So if you're ever going to drop him, I think it'll be a good tester. It'll be a good sign or a good showing of what all his intentions are for the rest of the season. Because if he doesn't drop him for this, when can you drop him? They're arguably the other than Leicester, but Leicester have always got that quality. They're the team in the league on the poorest run of form, or right up there. And they, again, if we don't drop him for this, when will we drop him? So I don't know.
Rest
personally, him. I would start him. Rest him. Drop him out of the team.
Drop him sounds a bit.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. I just not play him. I personally would start with him, like we did the other day, and then maybe take some players off if we need to. But it'll be a good one to see, just because I don't know. We look so much better with that midfield 3 than any other midfield 3, so it's hard to stop doing that, isn't it?
It is. Bryce has just got a super chat in saying Bournemouth will park the bus for a point. I kind of get that worry that Bournemouth could come and after getting battered by Newcastle at home, do something at Old Trafford. It just make me sick, and it'd be typical of us after having such a good week. But we'll talk about Bournemouth in a bit. Another player I want to talk about, Marcus Rashford. Now, I'm not going to criticise him, but he hasn't been, the Marcus Rashford before the break. Obviously, he's had a big back injury, and it seems a lot of people just overlooked that. Is anyone concerned by his form, or do you think it's good that we can have this and still have other players around him contributing?
I'm not too concerned because, like you said, other players are contributing, and he's linking up well with those players. Martial got a hat-trick the other day, and I think Marcus set up 2 of the goals. So it's not like he's gone completely off the boil. Where I need to stop saying that sentence because we're just getting silly now. It's not like he's gone. It's not like he's gone to the dogs. And
gone to the dogs.
He's not playing well, or he's he's all over the place. He isn't. He's playing quite well. He's just like you said. He should have got a goal against Sheffield United. That was a dreadful miss. Let's not sugarcoat it. But I think for him, he needs a goal because it is beginning to get like that thing where you're like, oh, he's not scored since he come back, and other players are scoring. Igalo scoring, Martial scoring, Greenwood scoring. He's the only one of the attackers who's not really getting involved. So I'm not overly concerned, but I think it'd be good for him just to calm him down a bit because you don't want him snapping at chances and it's sort of getting into his head like, I've not scored now for months, albeit, we've had a massive break.
He'll be looking at this game as one where he can get goals, I'm sure. What do you reckon, Joe?
Yeah, he's certainly gone off the boil. I mean, he was boiling before, and then now it seems as though that boil has gone down to a simmer, maybe even something like that. Anyway, it's certainly not boiling, but I'm not worried about him personally. Sorry, like Jay said, he set up 2 of the goals for Martial against Sheffield United, and he sort of did a lot of the preliminary work for the first goal, or the second goal, sorry, against what were they called the other day? We just beat Brighton. Sorry, against Brighton.
That's how good we are now. We don't even remember.
No, I'm not dismissing it. He played the ball into Shaw, played it across, who that led to the goal, and he made a good run for the third goal. I know it's not goals, and he wants to get on the score sheet, and I think getting him up to 20 goals is a nice sort of momentous kind of goal. I know 19's only one less than 20, but it seems a lot more than one less than 20. So I hope he does get that 20 soon. And the good thing about the team at the moment is because we have got Mason, Martial, Rashford, Pogba, and Bruno all creating chances, all capable of scoring. You don't need them all to be in form at the same time. I don't think Martial had his best game against Brighton, but he did have one of his best games against Sheffield United. So all it takes is for 2 of those 5 or 3 of those 5 to have a decent game or have a good game, and you can beat most teams. That's why having a lot of good players is always better than having 1 or 2, because as we saw earlier in the season or in the last few seasons, if Pogba don't have a good game, everyone's saying that he's a virus to the club. He needs to go. He's all ego. When actually, hang on a sec, players are allowed to have bad games. Players are allowed to have bad spells. Rashford's been excellent for most of the season and he's going through a bit of a bad spell at the moment. But I don't think his performance in general, he's not scoring. So I'm not concerned at all, really, no.
It just shows
I'm not worried about it.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Mackie, it just shows where we're at, that we're talking about the likes of, the other day it was Bruno is Bruno having a bad game? Yeah, it wasn't a bad game. And now it's the same with Marcus. You're saying, oh, is he not playing well? But he's still contributing. It just shows the levels have just increased at that point where it's no longer disastrous performances that we're pointing out where we were sort of 6 months ago, where you'd have like, I don't want to keep bashing them, but the usual suspects and just be anonymous and you'd be like, that was terrible. Now it's someone who's had a hand in a goal and you say, well, he's not been that great. So it just shows the levels of increase, which is good.
It takes the pressure. It takes the pressure off as well, because if Marcus was having a bad game before, he would think, I've got to have 3 or 4 shots, try and get one on target. I need to pull myself out of this. Now you can go, you know what? I'm not having the best game, so I'm going to simplify things. I'm going to give the ball to Bruno. You can give the ball to Mason or Pogba or whoever's having a good game. Like, there's no pressure on any one person to go, I need to pull myself out of this bad form today. And then you end up giving the ball away 5 or 6 times, having loose, reckless shots. Rashford, you can see he's probably not having the best time in front of goal. Let other people have a good time in front of goal. It's a much better position to be in, much healthier for everyone.
Therefore, Crest says in the comments, we have just found our best 11 after 4 or 5 years. This is not the time to go changing anything. Josh says we've relied on Rashford for goals, but now we don't have to. There are other players contributing. And Mark says Rash will be all good, just lacking the sharpness. He's still doing the hard work and linking well. And I think that's all it is. It's just that clinicalness in front of goal, which I'm sure he'll get. And look, regardless of result, I don't want to count our chickens against Bournemouth yet, but we'll know he'll get chances on the weekend. So he needs to just take one. And I think he'll be all right. He'll have 20 goals for the season. He'll be feeling good about himself again. But he will be looking round thinking, Igalo scored, Greenwood scored, Martial scored. I want to score, and that's good as well for that competitive edge in the team, I suppose, which is always nice. With Bournemouth losing against Newcastle, I think it ended 4-1 in the end. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
completely. Yeah.
Did it? Yeah. Are we overlooking them maybe a little bit too much? Are you wary of them bouncing back? How are you feeling with Bournemouth coming up?
I mean, let's be realistic here. Like Joe said, they're in free fall. They're not playing well. Newcastle seldom score more than a goal in a game, and they've bagged 4 past him. So you've got to be honest and say this is a team that's in terrible form, not playing well, and just completely lost all the confidence. And yes, you have to be wary because we've seen it before. We've had easy games. Burnley at home was an easy game. Crystal Palace at home was an easy game. But I feel like we've progressed as well from even like those times in January. We're just a lot better and there's a lot more confidence. As you said, we've got all these players weighing in with goals. And I just don't see the quality there with Bournemouth. You know, one of the lads in the comments was saying they'll park the bus. And he's probably right because let's have it right. A point for them would be amazing. But I don't know if they've got the quality to do that because you can park the bus and try and stop us. But have they really got the defenders to do that?
I don't really think they've got much at the back.
Yeah, I mean, they're quite poor. And I don't know, man. I might upset any Bournemouth fans that are watching this, but I'll be glad to see the back of Bournemouth, to be honest with you.
I don't think there's any watching this.
Honestly, mate, the team I had in Bournemouth, it's all this plucky little Bournemouth, and it's not at all. They've got money. They've got more money than they should have. What's the ground hold, like 15,000? And it's like they're like a...
All right, Boris, calm down.
You know what I mean? Like, they spend like 20-odd million on Solanke and Jordan Irish, crap like that. And then still struggling. Everyone goes, oh, Eddie Howe's doing an amazing job. Is he? No, I'm not into him.
They did spend a lot of money on those strikers.
Do you know they've got? I looked it up. Right, I think they've spent more than Chelsea net spend. I know we hate net spend, but more than Chelsea, the Scousers, Spurs over the last 4 years.
Well, they're a fishing town, aren't they? So everything's a net spend for them. I think we might be underestimating them a little bit, but they haven't won a game since the.
You're shit, Joe.
I love that.
They haven't won a game since the 1st of February. So to say they're in a bad run of form, obviously, I mean, understates it really. I think they drew against Chelsea in that run, but other than that, it's been, like I said, conceding 4 to Newcastle, a team who've struggled to score all season, is very poor. I hope we don't underestimate them. I hope we go out there with that energy that we've seen over the last few weeks. It almost seems now that the personnel we have, we can't help but have that energy. Whereas before, it's sort of in that good run that we saw when Solskjaer came in, the only comparable run of form we've seen to this one under Solskjaer, it seemed as though some of that was more the relief of, oh, Mourinho's gone. We can just have a laugh. Whereas now it seems like you actually look at the personnel, and you mentioned it before, Igalo even, we've got options on the bench as well, and all of them seem to, the way they play is just quick tempo. Bruno's got the little dynamo in the midfield who's just doesn't stop running, ran the most of anyone on the pitch in the 60 minutes he played of the night. I don't think we can help but have a good tempo, come at teams quickly, and we're not just going to sort of sit and go, well, I watched the game back the other day, the Brighton game. I watched it back last night, actually, and the speed that we came out with the first few minutes, we just pressed them really high, kept the ball, win it back. Bruno's just in and around it all the time. I think that the sitting deep problems that we used to have, obviously any team can struggle against a deep back line, but a lot of that it doesn't seem quite the sort of insurmountable task that it used to when someone sits deep, because the way that the players are, they're just the characteristics of the players, can't help but kind of get in behind and take shots early and make runs and find those runs. So I think we're in a much better position to deal with that kind of system than we were even 6 months ago.
Do you remember when we played?
I forgot about the beating us last time.
Yeah, well, do you remember that? It was like, I think Pereira came off for Lingard, didn't he? If I'm right. I think Pereira was in the 10. He came off with half an hour to go because he was having a stinker. Lingard came on and didn't really do much better. Did a little bit better, but not. Yeah. But now you look at that now, and it's like them two are like will struggle to get off the bench. If I'm being brutally honest, you know, we've just got much better options than we had then.
It is weird how United have changed. Like I forgot all about that game against them where we lost 1-0. Josh King scored, because it feels so long ago. Even like that City game, it just feels like a different team since then. Like Rashford's back, Pogba's back, the mood's good. Like the club even handled things right off the pitch during the pandemic, which they very rarely do. Like there's all this kind of feel-good factor just rolling into it. Like I don't get the feeling that, I know this is a cliche of Football Manager, that one result could damage their confidence going forward. So yeah, I think we're going to batter these lot.
Yeah.
Should I not have said that?
The last 7 years have made me so scared to say any sentences like that. I'm still too worried about it. I'm still too worried.
Even recently,
you're looking at the man who's got tweets going around saying Jordan Henderson will never win the Premier League, and James Milner and Henderson are their captain. Ha ha ha! How funny is that?
Mate.
So don't be scared, Joe.
Old tweets, man. Old video clips always do ya. They're horrible. Old tweets. Listen, we almost got done by Norwich, didn't we? A little bit. We were getting a bit cocky and talking about Dixie Chicken all day, and then they nearly did. So we can't be too overconfident, but you've got to be realistic. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and the difference in the squads that we put out against Norwich and the one we'll presumably put out against Bournemouth is massive as well. And it took a few members of that squad coming on to salvage the game against Norwich as well. So it's a different thing, isn't it? There was a team shared on Twitter yesterday of the team we put out against Newcastle away. Has anyone seen that, by the way?
I'll try to put it
De Gea, Dalot, Twanzebe, Maguire, Young, Fred, McTominay, Pereira, Mata, who played up front, someone, and then Rashford on the left. It matters James Rashford or something like that. It was just
Alexis,
like,
didn't it?
No, I don't think he was. He was out by that point. But you just think that, the difference that we've seen there was 8 changes to the team, and that's this season. It's not like it was years ago. That was this season. So
it feels years ago, doesn't it?
It's incredible the change we've seen in under a year.
Did you see Ashley Young and Sanchez got a goal and an assist piece yesterday?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, nice one.
Apparently Sanchez will never ever be back, which is good as well.
It seems like it, doesn't it? Conte was talking how good he's been and that he wants to play him more often. The only reason he hasn't played him more is because he's been injured. So it sounds like he wants him.
I think they're preparing for Lautaro Martinez's departure as well, aren't they? So somehow we're hopefully going to get rid of him, which is good. Back to United. What are your starting 11s for this one?
Joe, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. I'll go first then. No change. De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw, who I thought looked really good, especially in the first half against Brighton. Like he remembered to overlap and underlap and actually get in behind the lines. Matic, Bruno, Pogba, Rashford, Martial, Greenwood. Why change it? And unless there's some unknown fitness problems behind the scenes. We've seen from Mason where the other two didn't look like scoring, but he just makes something out of nothing, doesn't he? So I would just play the same team as long as everyone's fit. Why not?
Do you know what? I wish I hadn't let you go first now because I can't argue at all. Like you said, the only sort of debate that's been sort of bubbling under is should Williams or Shaw start? And Shaw had a very good game the other day. That's probably his best game
in about 5 years.
Yeah, honestly, it was. Even when Shaw's played well in the past recently, there's been elements you've been critical of, like he's been caught out of position a few times or he's not gone forward as much as he should have or whatever. But I didn't really find myself thinking any of that against Brighton. I just thought he had an all-round good game. So now certainly not the time to drop him. Unless maybe Ollie looks at him and thinks he could do with a bit of a break. Because I think Shaw has played a lot of football since we came back from lockdown.
Played every game, hasn't he?
Yeah, just to be different, I'll say maybe he'll swap him for Williams just as not as a punishment for not playing well, but as a rest. Because he can get away with it.
I think we could see that, and Matic, potentially McTominay coming from Matic. Not like you say, not being dropped. You could even see Daniel James start because it's Bournemouth. Like we might think, can we just batter these lot and get away with it? But then there's a few games where there's quite a space now between the fixtures, isn't there, for a little bit? Like there's 5 days between Bournemouth and Villa, and there's 4 days. And then obviously it speeds up after that. But they might just think we can change the team up. We don't have to change the team up so much this week. I don't know. There is another super chat from Stian who says it's not weird, man. It's just hard work over time with players and good players in like Bruno and Pogba. Ollie knows what he is doing. You do get the feeling Ollie knows what he's doing, and you do get the feeling he's thinking ahead of games. Like he picked the Norwich team because he had told them like a week before the game when it was previously scheduled that it'd start. And I remember story, again, I don't want to compare it to Fergie, but Fergie being able to manage his squad by keeping players on their toes, telling them which games they were going to be available for and making everybody feel like they were really part of the squad. And it seems like he's doing that at the moment. There's a good team spirit there. What about Mason Greenwood in terms of him? Let's talk about him. We were gassing about him after the game the other day, but seriously, how far can this kid go? How many Ballon d'Ors?
Don't want to go over the top, so I'll just say 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've had the Messi and Ronaldo era, so we'll have the Greenwood era just on his own for a bit. I mean, he's as good as a young player as I've seen, probably since, I don't know. Can I say, yeah, in my time, he's probably the most exciting youngster in terms of coming into the first team I've seen since Ryan Giggs. Because, okay, Marcus came in, he burst on the scene, and he scored a lot of goals sort of in that early spell. But with Greenwood, I don't know, everyone's been raving about him, hasn't they, since the academy, because he scored like 30 goals. And he's come in and he's just taken that form into the first team almost immediately. So it's hard not to get excited about him because, you know, he's only, just turned 18 this season.
Yeah. And
he's just the confidence, the way he is as well. Sometimes with younger players, you look at him and you think, oh, he needs to bulk up or he needs to do this or he needs to do that. But he's already, you know, his strength's there, his balance is there. He's already got the attributes and he's only going to get better. So it's difficult not to get excited. And you know what? Why not? Why can't we get excited about a young talent like that? I mean, if he carries on, he can definitely reach Welbeck levels. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the toughest of the top.
A cultured career like Danny Welbeck it looks excellent, doesn't it? I keep saying this, but just the fact that he can get the ball in an area that isn't dangerous, and 4 or 5 seconds later the ball's in the back of the net. That's what really impresses me about him, because usually 18-year-old young players rely on really good chances happening for them, or people playing him through, or one-on-ones with the goalkeeper. But he squares up his man. He can go left or right. He loves that like shot to the near post. Just being able to create your own goals is you're going to be wanted at some level your whole career if you can keep doing that, because there aren't many people who can do that. And the fact that, like I said, he's just turned 18 this season as well. It's not like he's 20, 21, where some youngsters come through a bit later. He's coming through basically the earliest a human can be good at football. He's really good at it. And I think he's the first United teenager to score 10 league goals since Norman Whiteside, is it? At least early 80s anyway, whoever it was. So, you know, like I said, you sort of wincing and almost don't want to compare him to Giggs. But if you're comparing their breakthrough, he's as good as anyone. You know, there's no denying that. He's as good as he doesn't have the complete game that Rooney had, but just in terms of goals, he is as good as any teenager we've had at United in a long time. And obviously that doesn't plot out the rest of his career, and we're saying that he is going to be this world star for his whole life. But as far as, you know, so far, what more could you even ask for, really?
There's only 240 from Rooney's record as well.
Oh, mate, nailed on, mate. Wow. He'll do that in 5 years.
I reckon Rashford breaks it. Marshall breaks Rashford, and then Greenwood breaks both of theirs.
Yeah,
doubles it.
Can't see anything other than that. The thing with Greenwood as well is you almost don't want him to lose that rawness. You know, like that confidence and rawness that players have. Like we talk about Rashford, he had it when he burst onto the scene, and then sometimes they almost get, I don't know, they get a little bit more introverted, or they sort of start worrying about other parts of the game. You want him to just have that confidence and that sort of devil-may-care attitude where he always feels he's going to score. He always wants to try and get his shot off because it's working for him. Do you know what I mean? So I hope he does just carry on like that, because it's just been phenomenal so far.
Ollie seems to play a lot of things down as well, and he was just like, we've got a player on our end here, and it's I think there's no point trying to play it down. There's nothing like, because I think even if you say he's the best player in the world or whatever at his age, I don't think he cares what you said. Like, he seems like he's just got that I'm so good mentality. I know it. Like, I remember him scoring against Everton and just being like, come, let's get back to the goal. If I scored a goal for Man United at Old Trafford, bloody hell. Like, especially at that age. And he's just like, nah, I'll score again in a minute. Like, let's go get the ball. And I don't want to use this as a criticism of James, because it's not, but you remember Daniel James scoring and Marshall and Rashford having to pull him back. And it's kind of like, you know, James has to learn the mentality of United, whereas Greenwood's already got it. Like, he's already switched it on in there. And those are the kind of players that you need when you're chasing games as well. You know, you'd kind of be worried if, I remember like in Rooney's early days, he used to get criticised for not making the right choice, like the right pass at the right times, or, you know, just being too raw or greedy at times. Whereas Greenwood, like, he looks like he's sensible enough to know when to pass it, know when to shoot it. And if you have that kind of mentality, it's different gravy, I think. Different gravy. Score predictions? Mason starting, innit? We all got Mason.
Yeah. I went with the same team as Joe, over than maybe Williams in. Yeah, I don't want to get too carried away because obviously, like you say, teams can bounce back and sort of make it difficult for us. So I'll just go for 5-0 United.
Did anyone ever track Dean down with that 6-3 prediction? By the way,
I know,
because that's still the best prediction I've ever seen.
Telling me he owes me a $5. You know what? Actually, I couldn't even get it. You know what? I went on the betting app. 6-3 wasn't an option. I had to do 6-2. We did it off the 6-3.
I love if you did it and 6-3 happened and you did 6-3.
Oh, mate, yeah.
I think the clean sheets has been one of the main sort of tenets of this good form that we've been on. So I reckon another clean sheet, 2-0.
I'm going 4-0. I think they'll league 4 again.
Mate, we better win this one after these predictions, I'm telling you.
Do you think at some point we're going to do a Leicester and 9-0 someone? Because why? It always seems to be it's only City are the ones capable, but usually those like 8 and 9, like 7, 8, 9-0, those games, it tends to be like two mid-table teams against each other. One of them who's just had an awful day, doesn't it? When's the last time United did that?
We 9-0'd Ipswich, didn't we?
95.
Yeah,
was it 95?
Yeah, it was 95, mate. But I don't see us doing that now because I think if we were battering a team like 4 or 5-0, Ollie would take everyone off. So, you know what I mean? Like, and I know we've got good subs, but I think it'd sort of kill it a bit. But you don't know, man. I mean, we've got the players.
My prediction was 2-0. I'm just thinking.
You know, if you get to a position where like Marshall and Bruno and Greenwood have scored, and it's like 3-4-0, and like Rashford is on the pitch and he still hasn't scored, like you're gonna still have that intensity, and that's kind of like the good thing. Or if Igalo comes on, he's like, I want to score, like. That was kind of like the half disappointing thing the other day when we made those changes. Like the performance went away a little bit because you want those sub players to come on and kind of be at it. But I think we'll batter 4-0 FC is coming back.
Oh, mate,
scared.
So that was a great 3 weeks, wasn't it?
Oh, it's so good.
4-0 FC.
That was under Jose as well.
I know. That came and went.
You remember how them games used to go? It'd be 1-0 to like a 75th minute.
Yeah.
We change Rashford or Marshall and then score.
That was it, wasn't it?
4-0. Yeah, it was pretty good that. Anyway, guys, plug something.
Scotty Motti, check us out, man.
Yeah, at Stretford Paddock as well, and at Joe Smith 93 on Twitter. Give us a follow.
Yeah, give him a follow. He's funny.
Thank you.
He's not.
Okay.
I think he's just
a bit of balance there.
Some would argue he's gone off the boil, but I don't.
Some would argue he's gone off the boil. I think he's disturbed, and if you watch it, it is funny, but he's not actually funny. Anyway.
Are we going to be speaking to you after the game, by the way?
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
You're going to be seeing me tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
All right. See you later.